Hello, people. Welcome to the Lee Cole 3 podcast. I am here with my partner, James Proctor, and we have a fascinating story for you today that has so many twists and turns. It would make a great movie. James Proctor, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really well, Lee. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. And James got a hold of me, and I heard this story, but I didn't think much of it. And James, you were basically telling me, "Hey, this is a fascinating story," and I'm like, "Okay, sure, James. Okay, right. Okay." So basically, James started giving me the rundown,
Yeah.
and wow, I'll tell you what, this story is simply amazing. It has murder attempts. It has a family betrayal. I
hmm
mean, so why don't you give us the basic rundown of the story, James?
Yeah. So what happened was I saw in the New York Post on Friday where it was talking about how this guy named there was a murder a few years ago of Sylvester Sally Daz Zottola, and anyway, his son was actually the one that was behind a conspiracy to kill him. And anyway, they found the son guilty and sentenced him to life in prison on Friday, and then the shooter that actually did the murder was also sentenced to um, life in prison.
And by when you read this story, and we're going to talk about this story,
Yeah.
how evil was Anthony Zotolo?
Yeah, I mean, how could you do that to to your own father? Also, that it involved his brother as well that he tried to take out. So, I mean, this guy, was an evil guy, but Zatola's got a really interesting past as well. And so, since this is a real mob content, we wanted to, bring out this
Yeah,
story.
and we're going to talk about his connections with uh, Dominic, uh,
With Vinny
Dominic
Gorgeous.
Vinny Basiano, and
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that. But first of all, what I like to ask you is, this guy just kept trying to kill his brother and his father and would not stop. And he had no mob ties. His brother and his father did. And
Right.
if the brother and the oldest brother, Salvatore Zotola, if he if he got killed, then the next in line is the brother that kills him.
Yep, Anthony. Yep, that's who, and that was the whole plan was because Zotola's had talking about the dad. He went by Sally Daz, and so he'd been around since the 80s, early 90s, and
He
like
was
we
good,
said,
and he was good friends with who?
with Vinny Basiano.
And there's and people, anybody that doubts it, there's the picture right there. That's Vinny Gorgeous, and that's Sally Daz Zottola, and
hmm
they had a close friendship because this man, what kind of guy was uh, Sally Daz? So I mean, was he a
Yeah,
moneymaker? I mean,
yeah. He was a money maker. He was, and so what he ended up starting out with was he had these vending machines. These they call them Joker poker machines that would go into the restaurants and bars there in Bronx. So this guy, by the way, Sally Daz was a you know lifelong Bronx guy. He was always in the Bronx. We know Vinny was in the Bronx as well, and so a Bronx guy. So anyway, he this guy had all these Joker poker machines, and he became a millionaire off of that. So he was making 10, 15,000 a week on that, and part of it too was that around this time, the Albanians were starting to try to get into the turf, and so this guy Sally had known Vinny Gorgeous, and so you know he became an associate. So Vinny and his crews would protect the businesses Sally had with these machines in it, and then in addition, Sally actually did a little bit of work in some of the restaurants that the Lucchese's were part of.
right.
But so he is mostly a Bonanno guy. But anyway, he's made all of his money from that. But then he there was a real estate boom in the Bronx, and so he was taking these properties, renovating them and everything, and then renting them out. And so he was able to establish a real estate empire. Think
A
of like
legitimate,
a
he basically used his illegitimate money to
yes,
create a legitimate empire.
yeah, kind of like a Donald Trump's father, Fred, what he did. So he had so basically this guy was renting out properties. He was, had is worth 45-50 million dollars, and the guy was making about $1.5 million of legitimate money off the rental income.
And
So,
then you had the
definitely
little,
an earner.
then you had the youngest son, the little spoiled boy. I
Hmm.
mean, then you had the father and his son, Salvatore, who were out there busting their ass, putting stuff out in the streets.
Yeah.
And they did whatever they could to help Anthony, but Anthony wanted the whole thing. So he basically plotted to murder his father and
Hmm.
his brother. So explain what happened. Now, how many times did he try to kill his father?
Oh God, it was 6 times that there were 6 failed attempts, and so this all started because Sylvester Zottola, so that's who we call Sally Daz. This son Anthony wanted him to sell off the real estate company because Anthony was going to get a little money, was going to get quite a bit of money from it, and anyway. The he could have sold it for 27 million, and father said no way, we're worth at least 45, and so just hold off on it. We will just let's continue to build this thing up. But his son Anthony was just wanted the whole pie. He wanted all this money. He wanted to show off. He was just a spoiled brat, and he didn't have patience to just wait for his father to pass away. But the other problem is that his brother was actually the one that was working side by side with his dad. Anthony is more of the playboy that wasn't doing much with the family.
And then there was and this all started a bunch of strange hits on
Yeah.
both the father and the son, the oldest son, uh, happened. And one of them was a very famous hit. And I'm going to tell you
Hmm.
what, this guy has 9 lives. And we're going to first talk about the son,
Yeah.
Salvatore. And
Yeah.
I'm going to put this up here. And this was an attempt on his life.
Hmm.
And it was very famous. It was in all the media. And nobody really knew the story until all this unfolded. So let me
Right.
put this up. Okay, here we go. Now, people, this is unbelievable that he survived this attempt. So this is him driving up. No, I'm sorry, that's the hit car. Right there, when they passed the car and the son's getting out of the van here, they shot him twice in the chest already. So he's hit. I mean, they went right by him and they shot him. So this guy's hit and he's fighting for his life. Just so we can show that again. Now watch this. Okay.
Yeah, and he was trying to get up and couldn't. You saw where he kind of fell back down, but the guy did the right move. Who would have, if I'd gotten shot, I don't know what I would have done, but he knew to kind of go get out of the street first of all, get around to the other side of the car rolling, and then looked like he tried to get up, and then the gunman got out of the car and ran back around, and the guy was rolling around just to not be a good target.
And it
So,
saved his life because the guy could never get
mhm,
no kill shots on him. I
right.
mean, if he was more professional, he would have just went up to the head and waited. The guy wasn't going to roll all day.
Yeah,
But
they said he got hit in the head too with one of the
yes,
bullets,
it
but
was
maybe it's just,
it was a
you know,
grave shot, but he did. And you know
yeah.
what's funny? Now people say, okay, why were these guys going around without protection? So nobody knew what they were doing except the son that was betraying them. And they had no idea that the son was betraying them.
Right.
And I'm going to read some. Now, this guy that they tried to shoot, his name is this is the son, Salvatore Zottola. I'm going to give you 5 fast facts on him. This is basically really good. The son of alleged mafia associate was shot repeatedly outside his home in New York on Wednesday, July 11th. And the shooting happened in broad daylight around 6:30 a.m. in Throg's Neck section of the Bronx. Law enforcement officials said Zottola did not cooperate with investigators. I mean, so for all you rats out there that love to come to YouTube, if you want to know who a real gangster is, a real guy is, it's this guy right here. And
Yeah.
And so, and here's what Zottola, this is the house it had security. Look at his house, man.
Mm-hmm.
No joke. This is a beautiful place they live at. But they had cameras and everything. And the attack happened outside the house. His house is reportedly equipped with its own surveillance cameras, but police have not seen extra footage. Sources tell the New York Post Zottola, the guy that was shot, has refused to allow police or FBI investigators to access the system. The surveillance video that was released is from a yacht club nearby. So the police said to him, please give us, so we want to investigate. He literally told the police at the hospital to go F themselves.
Yeah, he wouldn't let him. He said, I'm not giving you the tape. That's pretty wild.
And Salvatore's father, 71-year-old Sylvester Zottola, who was suspected of being involved with the Bonanno crime family, the elder Zottola was arrested on June 12th after police said he fired an unlicensed gun at someone outside his house. The father.
Yeah.
Sylvester Zottola told authorities the man had threatened him with a gun and that it was self-defense. So this is how many hits was on this guy. This guy, the father's even carrying a gun around. A matter of fact, the father never had no criminal record until right here, when he was caught with the gun. The father, he got charged with a misdemeanor, and these were ongoing court cases at the time. He got a felony, 2 felony charges he was looking at, 3 felony charges, 2 C's and an E. But they're trying to kill this guy, the father.
So all that's related to just having a gun in New York, I guess.
That's all related. And this is a guy who was a gangster and did not have a criminal record up to this point. But when all this stuff started going on, trying to kill him, it just made him, he said, the hell with it, I'm carrying. And they don't even know who he was shooting at. He never would tell them.
Right.
I mean, this father and son kept their mouth shut. They would not talk to the authorities no matter what.
No.
What do you think about that, James, that they wouldn't talk to the authorities?
Well, it shows that they were brought up well. They're stand up guys. They're not going to say anything, even when it comes to being able to, maybe if he had said something, either one of them maybe had been able to save the father's life, but he wasn't going to go down that road. He was not going to talk to the authorities or police or give them any information.
Then there was a serious attack on the father that almost killed him but didn't, when he got stabbed in the neck. Explain what happened there.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, there was just another case. So understand, all of this happened within about a year's time, and so
7 attempts on his life in a year.
Yep. And so the guy was being stalked. He was beaten. He was stabbed in the neck, and Sylvester said he didn't know who was orchestrating the attacks, but it was his own son, and so he wanted to get control of all the money. So yeah, his son was hiring hitmen to murder his father. So he had put out $200,000 to this guy Bouchon Shelton to do this, but it wasn't working out well. It took, like I said, over a year, and there were 6 attempts, and it just wasn't working out. And Bouchon
And let me read
never.
this real. Let me
Yeah,
read this real quick. I'm sorry, James.
yeah.
This is before the senior Zottola had survived an attack from a knife-wielding assailant, and that who had been burglarizing his home on December 27th, 2017, according to Daily News. It is unclear. Well, they didn't know the whole story. The guy, he said the guy was burglarizing his home, but the guy went there to kill
Right, exactly.
him. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, no. The only thing I was just saying is that this Bouchon Shelton was really the link. So he was a guy that was in the blood. So he was a gang member and a leader within the Bloods there in Bronx. And anyway, this guy was an employee for a company called People Ready, and so that's an organization that did job recruiting and everything. But this guy
Job
was
recruiting.
yeah,
He recruited Hitman.
and that's what I thought was ironic. So he was supposed to be doing like day labor job recruiting, but he was doing
And here's
job
one of his
recruiting for
employees. Here's
yeah,
one of his employees. Tell
exactly.
us about this guy, one of his employees. Herman Taliban, they called him.
Yeah, so Herman Taliban was another guy that was hired to buy the so he was hired by Shelton to take out the father and the brother.
Now, wasn't there a third guy involved in this too, named Hyman or Herman Ross?
Right. So yeah. So that's what was happening. That was unusual in this. So there were about 10 different people that knew of the conspiracy. There was a handful of these that had tried to take out, both the father and son, and they just weren't successful. And finally, this guy Hyman Ross, he was the gunman that actually was successful. So you remember what happened to Zottola was he was in a McDonald's drive-through. He went there to get coffee, and Hyman Ross came up and shot him 3 times in the drive-thru and killed him.
Yeah, and let me show that. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to pull that up
Yeah,
so you can see more stuff on this.
yeah,
Okay, let's see. Not that one. I'm just trying to pull up a good picture on this. So hopefully I can. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this was right here is where he was killed then, right?
hmm
Right, and that was his vehicle.
yeah. That was his vehicle, and yep, that was there at the McDonald's.
And it says Sylvester Zottola was gunned down and killed in the Bronx on October 4th, 2018.
That's
So
right.
that was this was like a year after the attempt on his son's, I'm sorry, a year after the attempt on his life and right around the
hmm
same time of his son. I mean, they had all this traumatic stuff going on in this family, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was happening in the within a period of a year, and so it was all about the other son being able to take control of those 90 properties that were worth $45 million.
And this is this is the shots. I mean, they made sure they aimed for his head and chest, and those all kill shots. It looks like right there, don't they?
Yeah, it is. So finally, that guy was actually able to do that. And then there was another guy named Lopez that was friends with Ross, but he ended up being found not. He was not. He was indicted, but did not get convicted, and so he was acquitted of the charges.
But what a horrible court picture! It looks like I don't know what it looks like. I guess that's a guy on the oxygen. This is when he was stabbed in the neck on the first
Yeah.
hit. The father was in very bad shape. He almost died from that too.
Mm,
And
yeah. That's
okay,
a horrible artwork or horrible drawing. Yeah.
yes, and let's get that. So let's get this out of here. Okay, so they go. So the police eventually. Okay, first of all, the father and the son that were trying to avoid these hitmen,
hmm
they were hard to track down. But then the son, the bad son, finally figured out put a GPS on their car and track
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, exactly. And so, that was the thing that these, both the others, the father and son, they were good about, they were being told how to try, from peeling the bananas, how to keep from getting tracked down and everything. The Bonannos actually talked to the Albanians, and Albanians said, "Well, we don't know anything about it. We have nothing against it, and against this guy. Everyone liked Zottola, and so it's just very weird." And so, and then and no one really expected the Bloods involved, because they weren't really into that
Right.
poker joker business. They thought it was all about the poker joker machine. They had no idea it was about the real estate.
And
So,
during this time, one of the sons went to see Vinny Basiano, Vinny Gorgeous,
hmm
in
yeah,
prison.
yeah.
And tell us, which son was it that went to see him?
It was the one that actually, it was Anthony, the one that
The
that
one
had
that was
his.
plotting to kill him. Okay.
Yep.
And so what happened when he went to see Basiano Vinny and he talked to him about it?
Yeah, and so that was interesting. Of course, the feds were going to record the conversation, and so he asked, and it was weird that he would do this, but he went to Vinny because Vinny was friends with of course, the father, but had known the kids for 30 years or more, and so he was close to both of the brothers, and so anyway, they talked to him. He said, "Why would anyone go after your father? I don't, I just don't understand that, because he's a sweetheart. He's a great guy. No one I know would have any problems with your father." And so, Vinny Gorgeous didn't understand it either, and so that
Vinny
was
knew
just
Vinny knew that they were listening to everything he's saying, so there's only so much you
yeah.
can say, I guess.
Yeah, and so I don't know if anything happened later that Vinny might have talked to, someone, but yeah, I mean, it didn't make any sense to, Vinny Gorgeous. It didn't, and then the Bonannos just didn't understand it either, because they saying, Albanians aren't part of this, but they were trying to help the brother and father to stay low. They were going to try to do things to help him out, but no one realized it was actually the son that was doing it. And so the son was a little bit of an idiot, in my opinion. Yeah, it was good to put Anthony put a GPS device on the car, but he was using his cell phone to send text back and forth with Bushan Shelton, and so that's how they finally realized it. So it didn't take long after the murder happened for them to realize that Anthony was involved in it, because
So
all
how,
they had
how
to do
so,
was take the
James, how did they investigate this, and how did they come up with how this was done?
Yeah. So what ended up initially happening, if you look at some of the reports back in October of 2018, what you were seeing is, oh, this was a mob hit. Everyone was thinking that that was some sort of dispute, between the five families. Then later you started hearing, oh well, no, it's the Albanians trying to get control. And then you actually had some reports that it was the Albanians. But then finally, the police could, during their investigation, one of the things they're going to do is always, no matter how hard it is, they're going, or easy or hard for a case, they always look at the family members first. And so that's what they did. They talked to the both brothers, they talked to family members, and then they, you know, started finding some of the testimony or some of the question from the son, Anthony, a little suspect. So it was enough that they could go to the court and ask for um, a court order to be able to retrieve those text messages and those phone records from his cell phone.
And after his father was shot, he actually texted one of the guys that was involved, and said,
hmm
maybe we can go out and have drinks, like to
Yeah,
celebrate.
yeah. I mean, it was
He wants to
horrible.
celebrate his father being murdered.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, when they were in court, so what happened when they went to court? When they decided to prosecute the guy, they figured they had enough charges on him.
hmm
Then people just started coming forward. I mean, so what happened?
Yeah, so what happened really was with Shelton, he had multiple cell phones. This was a guy with the Bloods, and he was really the key person that Anthony was working with. And so what happened was once Shelton cell phones were taken, then the special agents with the FBI were able to see everything that was happening, everyone that was involved, from back in 2017 and 2018. So most of the people that were involved ended up just pleading guilty.
So,
And
and you had this guy Anthony Zottola. He's not. It's obvious that he's like the idiot child because
yeah,
he was
hmm
making idiot moves. I mean, he just thought that he was going to get away with it, but they pretty much uh, resolved this thing quickly, didn't they? The FBI and the police.
yeah, they really did because they knew about Shelton. They had, the feds had, it's more of actually the police, that local police there in the Bronx knew that Shelton was involved with the Bloods, and then they got text and phone messages where he admitted to be a Bloods member, and so the FBI was able to get just about everything they needed from Shelton's multiple cell phones, and
Hmm.
it still had those messages on there about, there were things like this guy Taliban. He said, "Oh, my old Italian dude hit me and needs one of his tenants beat up. He usually gives me a stack." And so they were saying these things that, like another one, I do have a picture of that mechanic. I'll get it to you in a day or so. And then
And,
the other one's like, Shel. I'm sorry.
no, no problem. You're just telling the story, my
Yeah,
man.
yeah, no, and then the other thing was I need this old dude mashed out bad on Hobart Avenue. And so, I mean, when you look at all those messages that were coming in from like Zottola and with Shelton, you it was easy to figure out that they were working together on this murder. And again, there was a $200,000 that was sent um, to Shelton, and there's photos of it in one of the text messages
And
of
the
the
most
stack of
amazing,
money.
so the most amazing thing is this guy had a ton of money and still wasn't happy. Uh,
Yeah, he
he's
had a
able to
lot of
send
money.
come up with 200,000 in cash and just send it. So, but
Hmm.
here's what something. Uh, this is one of the texts right after the father was shot, um, and this is Shelton writing to Zotolo. So
Hmm.
this is so basically this is Shelton, and he's
Hmm.
writing to Anthony right here. And he
Yeah.
says, "Can we party today or tomorrow?" Shelton texted the younger Zotolo after the hit. And he says, "Tomorrow, it's my little man's birthday. I'm taking him to his favorite place, McDonald's.
Mm.
Then to a movie, laugh out loud. I like to eat that stuff."
Mm.
Anthony replied. So he's mocking taking his son to McDonald's because his father was murdered while he was
Yeah.
in at
Yeah.
McDonald's.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Just a scumbag. I mean, someone to do that just for money, but is a spoiled kid. You had two stand-up guys that were with the Bonannos. It made sense to think it was some sort of mob hit, but no, it wasn't. It was from Anthony.
And now there is another guy involved, Ron Caby, and he testified because uh, he's a ballless bastard like this other guy, and
Hmm.
he was talking about all the missed hits they were doing,
Yeah,
which is kind of I mean, and
yeah.
they
They were saying it's like a cross between Goodfellas and the gang that couldn't shoot straight. Is what these guys were known as. Just unbelievable. Yeah, they it took them 6 times to finally get the deed, and they never did get the young. They never did get the other brother.
and in the closing argument, um, Anthony Zotolo's lawyer said that, oh, well, this is probably the Albanians. This wasn't my client. He even after all this testimony against him and everything, he's still there claiming the Albanians. One thing I like to say about that is I said, I hope he's in lockup in prison 23 hours a day, because I'm sure the Albanians ain't going to be too high on the. He's not going to be too high on their list of friends.
No,
Okay.
not at all. I mean, not at all.
And someone said gangsters smell the cash and go after it. This guy was not a gangster.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. Yeah, and then, one of the other things that they'd said that was interesting, about about what happened at McDonald's, they said that Sylvester Zottola, he's killed on October 4th, but they said the group used cars to pin the Acura behind the McDonald's on Webster Avenue. So they pinned him in there and then shot him at close range, is what they ended up happening. So that's how the guy Lopez was involved, because he was driving one of the cars, but for whatever reason he got acquitted of it. I guess there wasn't enough evidence. So, Lee, are you coming back? So yeah, I mean, I thought this was definitely a great story, and there's a lot of information out there. We got from Gangland News, and so definitely recommend that everyone check that out.
Can you hear me?
So, yep.
Okay.
I just continued. I was just telling.
And your phone was
off.
I tried to call you on your phone to close the show, just in case I didn't get back. But that's okay. Okay.
No, it is fine. I was just telling people that they can get more information about this case, from Gangland News. We use some of that, plus the New York Post and the Daily News had some.
We did a lot of investigating. Okay,
yeah.
Several things. No Wikipedia. This is thorough work. This is how you do it, people. And we enjoyed this story, and we just wanted to give it. We wanted to put the full story out there, because you're going to hear lots. The media. This is a fascinating story, and they put it out in bits and pieces. When you can actually do a half-hour show in the media on this, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, it was kind of hard. It's interesting. As we looked at different angles on this, or looking at this, it was there's like you said, a lot of bits and pieces, and so it was really one little story by itself didn't really tell you how interesting this was. And so once we put all this together, it was definitely fascinating. I could see a movie being done on this one day.
I mean, it had so many parts. I mean, to me, the most amazing part is that guy rolling on the ground during that hit.
Oh my gosh. I mean, and for him to be alive, that's just, definitely has 9 lives.
Him and his father. I mean, those were serious up close attempts. When he got stabbed in the neck, he lived, and it was touch and go there, but he lived. You got to remember, this man was in his mid-70s, and it's like, and then the brother that's rolling around, he's no young chicken, but I guess he had his sneakers on and his jeans. He was he was all dressed up for rolling. So, it's a good thing he didn't have a 3-piece suit on trying to roll. And,
I know, definitely so. But yeah, I mean, this was definitely an interesting story, and so
when the brother stood up in court, the one that he was trying to kill, what did the brother say as a testimony statement before sentencing?
Oh, about his brother?
Yes, what it did to the family. And
yeah, I mean, I don't have the details on that. Do you have that?
I do. Okay, see, that's what we do, teamwork.
Yeah.
So you usually have the details, but this time, this is one of those stories. I just read everything.
Yeah.
He basically said, "Look, you put my family to hell. You have left our grandchildren without a grandfather. You have destroyed this family. This family will never be the same again, because we loved you. You loved us. And during the time that they were doing all this investigating, the family was still getting together. During the attempts, the family was still getting together. He was showing up for dinner during this time with the family and talking about, hey, I wonder who's doing this. And he's lying to his family right there. Then the sister got up and said the same thing. They basically said, we disown you. We want nothing to ever do with you again.
Wow.
You have destroyed this family. And there's a guy, hopefully, people like this deserve to be in that cell by themselves for the rest of their life.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I'm
Just amazing.
to be this vicious and vile. You can't even describe it.
Yeah, and the guy had money. I mean, his dad wasn't some sort of I don't know what you call it, someone that was yeah,
Well, yeah, he came up with
yeah,
a couple $100,000 to give the
yeah,
hitman.
yeah,
It's obvious he
exactly.
had. How much money
Yeah,
could he want? I mean, so he wanted the whole. He basically wanted to kill the brother and the father, and probably split
yeah,
the money with the sister.
yep, exactly. That's exactly what he wanted to do.
Yeah. Okay, well, I appreciate you helping me report this story, and we're
Sure.
going to put this out. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
people, if you like this video, please hit the like. Please don't forget to, after you hit the like, you can also hit the bell to remind you. We're having some trouble with people being reminded when these videos are coming up, because YouTube, I don't know what it is with YouTube and the reminders. And also, if you haven't subbed, please sub. We'd really appreciate it. And
Yeah.
we put a lot of effort into these shows. We do put a lot into these, don't we?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean, a lot of hours of research. You know, like Lee said, we don't just look at Wikipedia for this stuff. You know, we're going to look at sources. We check
We
sources.
read
You know.
court documents.
Yeah.
You read court documents in this.
Yep.
And also, if you want to help support the channel, you can Cash App, Lee Cole, or there's a little heart under there.
Hmm.
That's what people have been doing lately. They've been hitting that heart and donating to the show, which is appreciated. But
Yes.
in order for us to avoid sharing our money with YouTube, you can always send it to Cash App.
Yep.
So thank you so much, people. And you like to say anything before we leave, James?
No, no. I just enjoyed doing this story with you. So
Yep.
thank you, everyone.
Okay, people, take care. Thank you so much.